Christmas drew closer. Mariam's visit and Mr. Morris's letter lifted Sade's spirit a little, and she began to spend time downstairs. Christmas cards straddled the mantelpiece and shelves of the bookcase in the sitting room. Tiny painted wooden birds and animals hung between the needles of a small pretend pine tree perched above the television. Aunt Gracie said that the handmade stars and angels sprinkled with glitter had all been made long ago by her children. She was busy with pies, puddings, and cakes, and invited Sade to help. The grown-up King children were returning late Christmas Eve, and there were conversations with friends and neighbours about sofa beds, camp beds, and mattresses. But Sade only half listened, while she kneaded the cream-coloured dough and cut out pastry shapes. This was nothing like any Christmas she knew. Papa always said they were like homing pigeons. From north, south, east and west, every Salaja and Adewale family made the cross-country journey at Christmas. A map would have shown a magnificent giant spider's web with dozens of strands drawing in towards family house. Woven throughout their home village were the houses and compounds of elders like Grandma, Baba Akin, Baba Kaude. Christmas meant Grandma, Mama, and Papa, uncles and aunts, great and small, and endless cousins with their cousins. Christmas meant chasing chickens and goats, or climbing Baba Baobab, the oldest tree in the world, Femi claimed. Christmas meant listening to Baba Akin's stories, like how he was chased in the forest by Iwin when he was a little boy. First they would watch Baba search the rafters for tobacco leaves, then crush them in his leathery hand and press them neatly with his little finger into his long pipe. Waiting for his pipe to light up was all part of waiting for the story. Christmas also meant cocks crowing in the morning. Waking up ears, coming alive, come alive. Listen to the sounds of the day. From talking drums in the market to Mama's favourite Christmas carol service on Papa's This is the BBC World Service from London. The little radio always travelled with them. Christmas Day itself meant the dawn journey to Ibadan. Even Papa came with them to church on this day, making Mama smile with quiet pleasure. Their car hurtled over bumps and potholes in the stony dry track until they reached the main road, past the hill that Mama climbed every day during the Christmas she had been pregnant with Sade. Mama even called it Sade's Hill. I was in training for a first-class baby. They would drive past the palms that fanned out above the bush like gigantic radar wheels in the sky, past thick tangles of cassava leaves and cassava fields, past the empty grass-roofed roadside stalls, and finally through the people-filled streets of Ibadan, up above the thousands upon thousands of rust-red roofs, up to Grandma's church on top of its hill. Aunt Gracie had mentioned the children's service at her church several times, but had not pressed when neither Sade nor Femi responded. After the bubble of excitement over Uncle Deli and the TV interview, Femi was once again silent and moody. When Papa rang to speak to them each evening, Femi only mumbled a few words. Sade could hear their father's voice sounding lighter, weaker. Already over 10 days without food, but still he insisted that they should not worry. Letters of support were arriving every day, some with copies of protest letters sent to the Home Office. A university in America even wanted Papa to come and lecture there. Listen to this, Sade. Paper rustled at the other end of the line. Our students need to hear you. We need more people like you who are prepared to tell those hidden stories. We might not have assassination squads here, but there are many other ways of making a journalist keep quiet. Papa was waiting for her to say something. What could she say? She needed him. She and Femi needed him. But all these other people said they needed him too. Across another ocean. Sade, are you there? I'm here. Her thoughts darted wildly, like the bees smoked out of their hive at the back of Family House. Papa, what would Mama think? Sade swallowed in awe at her own question. The words had just trickled out of her mouth, thin and clear. She held her breath. Probably no. Papa corrected himself softly. I think she would want me to remember Sade's hill. On the day before Christmas Eve, when the afternoon light was beginning to fade, there were unexpected visitors. Even from the sitting room, Sade recognised the voice at the door. Shh! She signalled to Femi to stop jiggling the letters in the Scrabble bag. I hope you don't mind us calling round like this. We just wanted to drop off these presents for Sade and Femi. Such poor things. We saw them on telly, didn't we, Kevin? I knew they must have been through something. I had no idea just how bad. You just don't think, do you? They could hear Aunt Gracie's invitation to come inside. There was no way of avoiding the visitors. When Sade and Femi peeped into the hallway, the pushchair with the sleeping twins had already been levered into the hallway. Mrs. Graham flurried towards them, caught like a nutcracker. Femi stiffened in her hug. But the moment he was released, he escaped upstairs. Kevin stood behind his mother, looking awkward. Sade wondered how she would escape too. She knew Mrs. Graham meant well, but her stomach twinged at the thought of answering questions. Aunt Gracie saved her as soon as Mrs. Graham's arms freed her. Perhaps you should go for a rest, Sade. Ah, all this palaver. They're only kids. It's too much strain for them. You know what I mean? Mrs. Graham tutted sympathetically to Aunt Gracie. She turned to Sade. Before you go, lovey, Kevin has a message for Femi. Right, Kevin? Kevin shuffled. Tell your brother, he stumbled, then raised his eyes. If he wants to play football on Saturdays, he can come with me if he likes. To my club, I mean. If Kevin had not looked directly at her, Sade would have thought this was his mother's idea. The flicker of nervousness across his face, however, suggested the offer was genuine. I'll tell him, said Sade. But you should ask him yourself. Yeah. Another time. I'll call, right? He bit his thumb, just like she did when she was unsure of herself. Any friend of Sade or Femi is always welcome, Aunt Gracie offered. The lilt in her voice drew out the word friend. When Papa did not call at his usual 10 to 8, Sade began to inspect the hallway clock every few minutes. At 8:30, Uncle Roy rang the prison. Something was wrong. Where is he? Why not? I see. Uncle Roy's voice sank. He replaced the receiver slowly. Your daddy has been transferred. The man wouldn't say where. We have to ring in the morning to talk to the senior officer. Uncle Roy and Aunt Gracie exchanged one of those silent iMessages. Just what Mama and Papa used to do when they were worried. The worst thought sneaked into Sade's mind. Before it had time to bury itself secretly, she blurted it out. "They've taken him to the airport!" "Hold on, hold on." Uncle Roy's hands waved as if calming a choir. "Your daddy is probably in hospital," he said slowly. "The man said the doctor had ordered tests." "Tests? What kind of tests?" "I'm sure he'll be all right." Aunt Gracie's arms slipped around Sade's waist. "Let's talk about it over a cup of tea." Femi moved out of Aunt Gracie's reach, but followed them into the kitchen. His eyes sunk deep within his small warrior's mask. Together, they turned over the possibilities. Mr. Nathan's answer phone offered no number for emergencies, and the office was closed until after Christmas. Uncle Deli's line was still cut off, and Mama Apia's telephone rang endlessly. There was nothing they could do, except wait until the morning.